Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this important conversation. I'm Congressman Stephen Horsford. I'm proud to represent Nevada's 4th Congressional District and to be with all of you this evening. I want to thank Citizens United for bringing us together and for their work to hold Washington accountable and to make sure government works for everyday people, not billionaires. They've been tremendous partners in this fight, and I cannot thank them enough for their partnership. I also want to thank all of our other partner organizations who are with us, including Reproductive Freedom for All, American Federation of Teachers, Giffords, League of Conservation Voters, Rural Organizing, Climate Power, and Let It Resound. Now, we in week 2 of this Republican government shutdown, a shutdown that didn't have to happen. Republicans forced this crisis. And despite their attempts to spin the narrative, they own every bit of it. They hold all 3 branches of government. Yet instead of governing, they've chosen to grind the country to a halt in service to their billionaire donors. And the consequences are piling up. Families are receiving letters from their health insurers that their premiums are going up. Federal workers are wondering how they'll make rent next month. And communities that rely on government assistance are left in limbo. Every day that this drags on, more people, real people, get hurt. And Republicans refuse to do anything about it. Let me make this crystal clear. Republicans passed their big ugly bill, a tax bill earlier this year that represented one of the biggest wealth transfers in our nation's history, from the working class to the billionaires and corporations. And their plan to pay for those tax cuts was to kick working class Americans off of Medicare, Medicaid, and eliminating the Affordable Care Act tax credits that millions of people rely on. Now, Democrats here in the House of Representatives, led by Hakeem Jeffries, are united in trying to end this manufactured chaos. We're fighting to protect healthcare. We're fighting to prevent the American people from paying for the GOP's corruption, and we're working to get the government reopened as quickly as possible. While Republicans protect the wealthy and the well-connected, we're focused on the people who sent us here, the working families who deserve stability, security, and a government that serves them. Now, I want to take a moment to thank our leader, Hakeem Jeffries. Through all of this chaos, he has shown steady, principled leadership. He's made sure that we never lose sight of who we're fighting for, the working families who are counting on us to stand up to Republican corruption and to do what's right. Tonight's conversation is about that fight, how we move forward, how we stay united, and how we hold those responsible accountable. As elected members of Congress, we believe it's important for the American people to hear directly from you, and we want to work directly with you as we all navigate this process and this mess together. So again, I want to thank all of my colleagues for joining this discussion, and thank you for tuning in, staying engaged, and standing with us. With that, I'll hand it over to our leader, Hakeem Jeffries.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. Appreciate your friendship, leadership, and partnership as we navigate our way through this challenging moment, this reckless Trump Republican shutdown, and our Democratic efforts to address the Republican healthcare crisis that is devastating so many people across America. It's an honor to be with all of my distinguished colleagues in government, in the House of Representatives, our partners in organized labor, certainly Tiffany and End Citizens United, and all of the other partnering organizations who are in this fight with us together to win this fight on behalf of the American people. Our position over the last several weeks has been clear. We will sit down with anyone at any time and at any place in order to enter into a bipartisan agreement to reach a spending deal that meets the needs of the American people. But any spending agreement has to make life better for everyday Americans, not make it worse. And we are ready, willing, and able to reopen the government. But at the same period of time, We have to address the Republican healthcare crisis that is devastating people all across the country, working class America, urban America, rural America, small town America, the heartland of America, and Black and brown communities all throughout America. And that means extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits so we can prevent tens of millions of people from experiencing dramatic increases in their healthcare premiums. We have to address the devastating Medicaid cuts that are impacting people all across the country, including by resulting in hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics shutting down. And we need to deal with the cost of living crisis that the American people have been saddled with as a result of failed Trump Republican policies. So we thank all of you for joining us. We thank you for being in this fight together. Cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care. It is now my honor to yield to the leader of End Citizens United and a great partner in the fight to end corruption in this country and to make sure we deliver a government that actually makes life better for everyday Americans. Tiffany.
Well, Leader Jeffries, thank you so much. And you should be careful yielding time to me. I might just take like the magic minute and just keep going. But we are so honored to have all of you here tonight. Leader Jeffries, thank you for helping keep us united, keeping us strong, and keeping us focused on what we need to do during this shutdown fight. And to all the other amazing congressional leaders who are on the call with us, thank you for being with us in this fight and here tonight to talk to all of our members and to our amazing partner organizations who have joined us. We are so honored and thrilled to do this fight with us, do this event with us. Congressman Horsford, you're doing such an amazing job leading this conversation that from now on, I'm just going to have you travel with me and hit the road, and we can go do all of these together. It's great. So for all those who don't know me, I am Tiffany Muller. I am the president of End Citizens United, and we are a grassroots-powered organization with more than 4 million members across the country. And our mission's really simple. We want to get corruption out of government. We want to protect and expand the freedom to vote. And we believe that our government should work for the people, not just those who can write the biggest check. And we are united by this one simple idea that the government should work for the people. And so I'll be honest right now, I'm angry. Tens of millions of Americans are angry because our government is shut down because Republicans decided that their billionaire donors mattered more than the people. They looked at families living paycheck to paycheck, at workers who can't afford a missed day, at parents worrying about their children's medical care, and at the Affordable Care Act premiums that are getting ready to skyrocket. And instead of addressing any of those problems, they decided to use healthcare and rising costs as leverage in a power game to give bigger tax breaks to the rich and the well-connected. That is not what we are fighting for. We know that your paychecks are still getting taxed, but the Republicans shut down the government because the billionaires wanted a bigger investment on their campaign contributions. That's corruption, pure and simple. And through it all, they have the audacity, when they control right now the House, the Senate, and the White House, they have the audacity to point the finger anywhere but themselves. This fight is about who the government should serve and who it's going to work for, and how you all watching tonight are going to have your lives be made just a little bit easier. And that's what Democrats are fighting for. They're standing with the American people. They're standing with the workers who make this country run. And I want to thank Leader Jeffries, Speaker Pelosi, Whip Clark, and Congressman Horsford, and all the incredible leaders we have on tonight for showing us what real leadership looks like, for standing up every single day for working families, and for holding the line when we know that sometimes the pressure is there to give in. So thank you for reminding us that we are all in this together and for what this fight's about. We fight for the people, not the powerful. And with that, it is my honor to turn it over to the incredible Democratic whip, Catherine Clark from the great state of Massachusetts.
Oh, thank you so much, Tiffany. And thank you to everyone at End Citizens United and all the partnership organizations for bringing us together. And a special gratitude to everyone who is tuning in. Thank you for staying engaged and speaking out at this decisive moment for our country. So, for the last 2 weeks that we've been in this shutdown, I've had one question for my Republican colleagues. Where the heck are you? They have left Washington after cutting people's health care to hand over that money to the billionaire class. They are toying with the paychecks of our troops and federal employees. They're blocking the Epstein files, and they won't even show up to defend it. We'll have a little bit of sympathy for that because who could defend this agenda? An agenda that says billionaires are more important than working people, an agenda that's going to kick 20 million people off of their insurance at risk of doubling, tripling their premiums in just a few weeks, an agenda that kicks almost 300,000 veterans off of the ACA, and an agenda that is doubling and tripling healthcare premiums and making life for every single American harder and more expensive. We are simply not going to rubber stamp that agenda. The American people deserve better. So we are going to work with all of you to make it clear what are the stakes for the American people in this Republican shutdown. We're going to get government back open. We're going to lower costs. We are going to keep premiums down and keep families insured. We're ready. You're ready. The ball is in the Republicans' court. So thank you for fighting back. Thank you for showing the grassroots power that is behind us, because we know the power always lies with the people. And that's how we're going to get a budget that is worthy of our communities and worthy of our children. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to one fabulous Floridian. She is the co-chair of our Steering and Policy Committee and a member of the Appropriations Committee. It is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Take it away, Debbie.
Thank you so much, Madam Whip, and thank you to End Citizens United for hosting us and to all the strong leaders here for ensuring that our spotlight on this Republican healthcare crisis shines white hot. Sadly, our AWOL vacationing House Republican colleagues just don't seem to get it. If we asked them to pass massive tax breaks for billionaire donors, they'd work late into the night because they proved they want to sneak giveaways like that past their constituents. They even brought us back over the July 4th holiday to make sure that we got that done. But of course, when we demand that they negotiate a spending bill that prevents health premiums from doubling, tripling, or even quadrupling, they head for at least a 2-week paid vacation. Well, Democrats won't sell out Americans like that. There's over 203,000 people in my district alone who will see their healthcare costs skyrocket. If you factor in a historic cut to Medicaid that Republicans just made, more than 80,000 people that I represent would lose their coverage if the ACA tax credits expire. That means more delayed diagnoses and more costly emergency room visits. In fact, just a couple of hours ago, the deputy director of Medicaid in Florida testified in front of the legislature that the big ugly law will hit Florida with $3.6 billion in Medicaid cuts. That means more crushing medical debt, more small businesses that are going to lose their workplace coverage, or they're just going to close down. And tragically, that means too many needless lives will be lost because people do die from lack of health insurance. We know it's coming, and that's because Republicans already gutted Medicaid to reward their mega-rich billionaire donors. Now they're refusing to extend Affordable Care Act credits that middle-class families rely on for coverage. The suffering will hit states like mine the hardest, where Republicans have refused to expand Medicaid. We're one of only 10 states who haven't, and we have huge numbers of us who count on Obamacare in our state. Life is already too expensive. Rent, utility, food costs all keep climbing, and Trump's tariffs are making it all worse. We simply cannot afford to not avoid sitting down. We've got to come to the table. Republicans need to come back to work Join us in negotiating an end-of-year spending plan that cancels the cuts, that lowers healthcare costs, and saves Americans' healthcare. So I'll echo what others have said here and call on Republicans to stop being AWOL, sit down with us, and make sure that we can reopen the government while also preventing people's healthcare costs from skyrocketing out of control. We owe that to every American who's about to see a huge spike in their healthcare costs or lose it altogether. Thank you all so much again, and thank you once again to End Citizens United for always being a platform available for us to stand up and do what's right. And I'm right there with you. Thank you so much.
And I think next.
Sorry, and now I'm going to turn it over. Forgive me. Now got so carried away, I just shut myself off. Now I'm happy to turn the platform over to my dear friend, Congresswoman Jahana Hayes from the great state of Connecticut, a senior member of the Education and Labor Committee.
Thank you. And thank you so much to everyone being here. I think I'll just start by saying you all know how bad it is, which is why you're on this call. And my concern is, where do we go from here and how do we get out of the situation that we're in? As we have heard Leader Jeffrey say many times, that we are dealing with people where facts don't matter and they're not constrained by the truth. So the work that all of the organizations on this call do is so critically important. You help to combat some of the disinformation. You help for people to understand what is really at stake. You actually push, the members of your organization to dig deeper and research the information for themselves. And that is so critically important in this moment. My colleagues are shameless. They stand in front of cameras and stand at press conferences and spout things that they know are just lies. They are not misinformation. They are not disinformation. They are flat out lies about what we are fighting for and what is at stake. In my district in Connecticut, I have heard overwhelmingly from people that while they understand what is at stake and they want us to get the government open and they expect us all to come together and work, they do not want Democrats to capitulate and just accept cuts to their health care in order to meet the Republican demands. So I think that is where we are right now. And the work that you do on the outside is going to be so important to what is at stake for us as we go to take these votes. We need to hear from you. We need to know how this is affecting you. We need to carry your stories and what is happening in your homes and your communities with us so that we can hold the line on this. We understand that healthcare is so important for so many people. It makes the difference for why people take a job or leave a job, why people decide to retire or move. So many people are dependent on their healthcare needs. And that is something that House Democrats are willing to fight for. So we are on day 8. We have shown up. You've seen us everywhere. You've heard over and over the work that we have been doing, and we do not plan to stop, because the idea that we have to just accept what the Republicans give us when they have proven that they are not reliable negotiating partners. They have gone back on their word time and time again. They have rescinded funds that have been appropriated time and time again. They have flat out lied. And we need more than that. We need more than a pinky promise and a handshake in order to protect the health care of the American people. So again, thank you so much, not just for being on this call, but for all the work that you do every single day, in good times and bad, to make sure that people are actively engaged in their democracy and holding leaders accountable, reminding us why we're here and who we work for. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this call. And on a day when, it feels like we're getting blow after blow after blow, coming on a call like this and knowing that people are still paying attention, you are still engaged, you are still in this fight with us, buoys me and makes me want to live to fight another day. So thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to, I don't see her, but Representative Melanie Stansberry from New Mexico, I think, is supposed to be next.
I think we might have lost her for a little bit. So how about we throw it up in the air and juggle a little bit, and we go to Congresswoman Salinas from the great state of Oregon.
Thank you, Tiffany, and thank you to this incredible group and Citizens United and the rest of the advocates that are on this. What a great idea! It's just so great to be with advocates tonight. We're winning. I think the American people have to know this. President Trump and congressional Republicans are refusing to work to help the American people at one of the most critical times. We have seen the largest cuts to healthcare in our nation's history. And millions of Americans, including thousands in my district, are about to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more per month for their health insurance. And I think Republicans recognize, because they're hearing from their constituents, I'm hearing from their constituents. I've been sending out surveys to my constituents. I had almost 20,000 people on a teletown hall the other night, many of whom I know were from around the state of Oregon, also from Cliff Bence's district, from the rural parts of Oregon. I have a lot of rural parts of Oregon myself. And people are scared. They know that rural healthcare is in jeopardy right now. We have at least 4 rural hospitals at risk of closure right now. And that was before the big, ugly bill. And I want to just share a couple of responses that I've received to some surveys that I sent out. One is a story from Steve, who lives with his wife in Beaverton. Steve is 68 years old and he's still working, but he's on Medicare. And his wife is only 61, so she doesn't qualify for Medicare for a few more years. She currently pays $500 a month for coverage through the Affordable Care Act. But next year, her premium is set to increase to $800 per month unless Congress acts. Steve notes that his wife is a waitress at a small locally owned restaurant. So an additional $300 per month is just simply too much on top of what they currently pay for healthcare. So they're not able to absorb an additional $3,600 a year in healthcare costs, and they likely will not renew her health insurance, which means they will go without. And at age 61, that's a risky thing. Another one of my constituents, Connie, responded with a similar story. She lives in Dallas, which is a small town, rural town in my district. She's on the bronze plan, which means her plan only covers serious injuries. Everything else is paid for out of pocket. She received one of those notifications in the mail telling her that her premium is going up. Right now, she pays $423 a month for her healthcare premium. Next year, if Republicans continue to refuse to lower the costs of healthcare and work with Democrats to extend the premium tax credits, she will pay a staggering $2,273 per month for healthcare. That's an increase of over $1,800 per month. And I don't know about folks on this call, but there are not a lot of people in my district who can afford to spend an extra $1,800 per month on healthcare. These are just 2 stories from over the thousands of people in my district and millions more across the country who will see their premiums spike unless Congress acts, and who will likely have to go without access to care, without access to preventive care, without access to their insulin, without access to life-saving cancer treatments. I'm worried about Connie and Steve and his wife, and I'm worried about all the people who will be impacted in my district and in districts across the US. And as Democrats, we are worried about people. We're not treating people like political pawns, like the Republicans. And I don't know how they will get the care they need if their costs go up next year. But I know how we can stop that from happening. Republicans need to come back to the negotiating table. They need to work with us. They need to extend the premium tax credits. They need to lower the cost of healthcare, reopen the government, and prevent a looming healthcare crisis. And we do it with people on this call. We do it by collectively working together, and we can do this. We can stop this. So thank you again for holding them accountable, helping us to hold them accountable. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Salinas, and thank you for sharing those very important constituent stories. Leader Jeffries and Whip Clark called on the members today to make sure that constituents all over the country know we want to hear your stories and how both this Republican caused healthcare crisis is affecting them and the ongoing GOP shutdown is affecting their lives and their livelihoods as well. I want to come now next to Representative Lauren Underwood. She has been a champion on so many important issues, but at the heart of this shutdown fight is healthcare. Republicans want to let the ACA premium tax credits expire, which would drive up costs for millions of Americans, as we've been talking about, all to keep their billionaire special interest happy. So thank you, Representative Underwood, for your leadership. You have been the champion leading the permanent extension of these tax credits, and I'm so glad to have you on this call tonight.
Well, thank you, Representative Horsford. And hi, friends. I'm so happy to be on the call tonight. For those of you who I haven't met yet, I'm Lauren Underwood. I have the honor of representing Illinois' 14th Congressional District, and I'm a registered nurse. And making sure that people have access to high quality, affordable health care is my life's work. Now, I wish that we were together under better circumstances because shutdowns are serious, and the longer they last, the more they hurt our economy and our communities. But I want to be crystal clear about why we're here. Republicans have decided to put the interests of billionaires who were in the front row of Donald Trump's inauguration over health care for working families. We're here because Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Russ Vought want to use this shutdown to continue their unconstitutional power grab. And House Democrats are fighting to make sure that every single American family has what they need, not just to survive, but to thrive, to live happy and healthy lives. And we're really fighting to make sure that when people visit their provider, they know that they'll have a good outcome and that they will not be forced into bankruptcy. But I got to tell you, this is a fight because Republicans have this decades-long obsession with going after our healthcare. Their latest attack came this summer. You may have seen that they used their majority to pass a dangerous legislative package called the Big Ugly Bill. Now, this bill was the largest healthcare cut in our nation's history. It cuts $500 billion from Medicare and almost $1 trillion from Medicaid. And this bill will deeply impact families and our communities. Hospitals and nursing homes are going to close and they will not be coming back. Millions of people are going to be losing access to healthcare, largely in the communities that need it the most. And then, in addition to these devastating cuts, Republicans are refusing to make permanent popular tax credits that have made healthcare more affordable than ever. Now, these savings came from my bill, the Healthcare Affordability Act, and these tax credits will expire in just a few months if Republicans let it happen. So you may remember what times were like before the ACA, when being a woman, having had a pregnancy was considered a pre-existing condition. If you had previously been diagnosed with asthma or insulin, then perhaps you wouldn't be able to get healthcare coverage, right? And then we passed the Affordable Care Act and all the great pre-existing condition protections. But for a lot of families who needed to buy their own healthcare coverage, they went on the marketplace, healthcare.gov, and found that some of the plans weren't actually affordable. Well, that all changed when President Joe Biden signed into law the American Rescue Plan and included provisions from my Healthcare Affordability Act that allowed for these popular tax credits to lower out-of-pocket costs for working people who buy their own healthcare coverage. Now, we worked hard and we got those tax credits extended again in the Inflation Reduction Act, and we've been working to make these popular healthcare tax credits permanent ever since. Now, these savings have been incredibly popular and they work both to lower costs and improve health outcomes. You guys, they have led to record-breaking enrollment in healthcare and a historic expansion of coverage. 24 million Americans signed up for healthcare coverage through the Affordable Care Act this year because of these savings. And 4 out of 5 Americans have found quality healthcare coverage for just $10 or less a month. That's what these healthcare tax credits do. It's a lifeline for working people and so many of our friends and neighbors. We're talking about waiters and rideshare drivers. We're talking about Main Street small business owners, people who might own a dry cleaner or your local coffee shop. There are now families who are getting letters like this week telling them that their premiums are about to skyrocket to completely unaffordable levels. New analysis out this week estimates that premiums will more than double on average, increasing by 114% nationwide. This is the Republican healthcare crisis. It is on them. They created it and they are making it worse. And this Republican healthcare crisis will rip coverage away from millions of Americans and raise costs for millions more. So, right now, if you're going to be affected, Republicans in Congress need to hear from you. Please, let's be calling. Let's be sending letters. Let's be sharing our stories. If you want to write a letter to the editor or write an op-ed, if you want to call into a rural talk radio show and tell your healthcare story, there's an opportunity for your voice to be part of this fight, and we need you. We are so close. We are so close. We have the Republicans on the ropes. But we want to make sure that we deliver on our healthcare promises, and we want to make sure that we get this done for working people across America. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for remaining engaged and for being with us tonight. Take good care.
Well, you heard it here first from the nurse in Congress, the champion on so many issues and the centering of this healthcare fight, what's at stake, and what you can do about it to make sure our message continues to get out. We can't do any of this without you. And Tiffany, I know we've got a ton of other members who have called in and also partner leaders who we also want to get to. So I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our partners, and then we've got three other members on deck after those partners speak.
All right. Well, we are so excited about all of our incredible partners and allied organizations that have joined with us in this fight and are with us every single day in the trenches. And so, first and foremost, I get to turn it over to one of my dearest friends who is leading the fight on reproductive freedom and is I have to tell you, she is always on my speed dial every time I need anything. She is the person I go to. So please give it up for the amazing Minnie Timaraju from Reproductive Freedom for All.
Thanks, Tiffany, and thank you to all the incredible members of Congress and our Democratic leadership. Look, you guys, could not agree with Rep. Underwood more. We are in a major crisis. Folks are suffering. You know, I live in the DC area. I've got friends, neighbors, folks in my community who've been laid off. Nobody takes this shutdown lightly. This is a very painful experience for so many Americans who rely on and work for the federal government. But the stakes are incredibly high, and we've got to do everything we can to fight for our fundamental freedoms, which are intertwined in this fight for healthcare access, particularly our reproductive freedoms. So at Reproductive Freedom for All, we know exactly what's at stake in the shutdown. I know a lot of our members are on this Zoom, so thank you for being with us. You've been making calls. You've been talking to your members at home and district. You've been visiting the Hill. You've been texting. You've been sharing information. And we need you to keep up that energy and keep up that fight. Look, Republicans have made it clear they're willing to risk families' health, jobs, and futures just to give billionaires another tax break and push their extreme agenda, which is, frankly, an extreme anti-reproductive freedom agenda. Democrats are standing united to keep our government open, protect care, lower costs, fighting to ensure that no one loses their health coverage or the freedom to make decisions about their own bodies because of political games in Washington. And this is about real people, parents, patients, and families who deserve a government that works for them and not against them. And that is exactly what we're all fighting for together. And in that spirit, I'm going to pass it on to my friend, Lori Lotus at Climate Power, who can talk about the connection, this climate crisis, and this massive mess we're fighting in Washington.
Thanks, Minnie. Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Lotus, Executive Director of Climate Power. Thank you to Leader Jeffries for organizing the call. And it's great to be alongside Congressman Horsford and so many members of Congress fighting for their communities. We are here tonight because Donald Trump and Republicans chose to shut down the government instead of lowering costs for the American people. While Democrats are fighting to lower costs, Trump and Republicans are driving prices up and raising healthcare premiums for millions. Trump promised to cut energy prices in half in his first year. Instead, utility bills have spiked 10% since he took office and are poised to increase even higher. Before the shutdown began, Trump's reckless war on clean energy had already led to more than 80,000 energy jobs being canceled or stalled across the country. And just last week, Trump and his partner, Russ Vought, canceled nearly $8 billion in Department of Energy funding for clean energy projects in blue states. Over $3 billion of that funding was going to Republican districts. Now, Trump's team is threatening to cancel another $15 billion in investments, hitting states like Texas, Iowa, and Ohio particularly hard. These projects would have created good jobs, helped lower energy costs, and brought much needed energy to the grid to keep up with the skyrocketing demand. With every lost job and higher utility bill, working families are paying the price for Trump's agenda to help the rich get richer. He is inflicting pain and higher prices on all Americans simply so that he can continue to look out for his campaign donors. We'll remind people every day that Democrats are fighting for them and their families, while Republicans are hiking up their bills and taking away their health care, all to protect tax breaks for billionaires. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Ashley Lance.
Thanks, Lori. I'm Ashley Lance with Brady United Against Gun Violence. Thank you to ECU and to our unwavering champions in Congress on this call. We are here tonight because extremist Republicans are grandstanding while lives are literally on the line. Every day that this government shutdown drags on, every day that we get closer to skyrocketing premiums, gun violence victims in America are left wondering, how will I have access to the care that I need to live? This crisis started with the Big Ugly Bill, which gutted Medicaid, a program that is relied on by more than 60% of gun violence victims in this country. Have our gun violence victims not suffered enough? Now extremists are doubling down. They are dead set on slashing essential subsidies. Their goal is to cut affordable care for working families and gun violence victims. Also, they can give tax breaks to their billionaire buddies. This isn't just irresponsible. This is deadly. It is time to end this. It must end now. Let Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune know that we need to cancel the cuts, lower the cost, save healthcare, and reopen the government right this minute. And now we'll hear from Victoria Yang, the head of Next Gen America.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And thank you everyone for being here and to our members of Congress and for your leadership. Next Gen America's mission is to empower young voters ages 18 to 29 to engage in elections and to ensure that our government is responsive to the largest and most diverse generation in American history, not just the wealthy few. So Next Gen is helping young people fight back against the billionaire takeover of our country and our freedoms. Right now, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House, and are trying to pass a budget that would cut health care, as we all know, food assistance, cancer research, and disaster relief in order to give tax breaks to billionaires. But Democrats are standing up for us and our rights. Democrats will support a bipartisan bill to fund the government, but not at the expense of the American people. Budgets reflect values and priorities. Republicans are choosing to prioritize the wealthy elite and corporations, even if that means forcing a government shutdown. So young people are paying attention and they know who is fighting on behalf of the working class people. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Congressman Horsford.
Thank you, Victoria, and I'm very pleased that we are in coalition tonight. We are building and organizing and engaging across all of the organizations that are doing phenomenal work every single day. And so again, we want to say thank you. I know many of you are asking, okay, what are the action items? What do we need to do? Tell us what to do. And we're going to get to that here in just a minute. I did want to bring in a couple of my colleagues who are joined with us we have Congressman Seth Magaziner representing the 2nd Congressional District of Rhode Island. He's been a champion on a lot of fronts, especially around renewable energy. Thank you, Representative Magaziner, for joining us. And then next, we're going to hear from Congresswoman Strickland from Washington State, and my colleague and colleague to the west of my district, Congresswoman Susie Lee from the 3rd Congressional District of Nevada.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you to my friend Steve Horsford for his leadership in bringing us together, Leader Jeffries and Whip Clark, who I know were here earlier, on all of my colleagues and these tremendous partners. We are going to win this fight. We are going to win this fight to save healthcare for the American people. I am here in Rhode Island. Over the last few days, I have been going to hospitals and community health centers, talking with nurses and doctors, patients, about how important it is. And let me tell you, so many of our healthcare providers are on the brink of bankruptcy already because of the $1 trillion that Republicans cut from Medicaid, and they cannot afford to lose billions more if these Affordable Care Act credits expire. They cannot afford it, and the American people cannot afford to see their healthcare premiums double next year, thousands of dollars per family, at a time when they are already struggling from the high costs of Donald Trump's tariffs on food and energy. They cannot afford, people cannot afford to have their healthcare costs explode. We all know this. That's why we are here tonight. But my message is that we are going to win this. And you can already see the cracks starting to show on the Republican side. You already see individual Republican members of the House and the Senate saying, yeah, we got to do something about this Affordable Care Act thing. You even hear Trump saying it. We on the Democratic side are united. We are united in our belief that we have to make this fight now to save the healthcare system for the American people. And we are united in saying that we are not going to be a rubber stamp for a Republican budget that decimates the healthcare system. Meanwhile, the Republicans can't seem to get their story straight. What are they for? Do they want to extend the tax credits or not? Do they want to do it now or do they want to do it later? They don't have any coherent plan or strategy or vision. And that is why we are going to win this. The American people are on our side. Overwhelmingly, the polls show 70, 80% of the American people are on our side on this, including most Republicans. And the last thing I'll say is this. The reason that Republicans are in such disarray on this issue is because they haven't had a plan for healthcare in 15 years. It's been 15 years since the Affordable Care Act passed, and they've been trying to repeal it. They've been trying to undercut it. And they've said that they're going to replace it with something, but they've never had a plan for what to replace it with for the last 15 years, and they still have no plan today. That is why the only option, the only responsible option, is to extend these tax credits to restore Medicaid funding, to maintain the Affordable Care Act, and we are going to deliver this win. I am incredibly confident that we are going to do this if we hold the line, we stay firm, and we center what is best for everyday Americans in our messaging. So thank you all for being a part of this fight. I am excited. I'm fired up. We're going to win this one for the American people.
Thank you, Seth. Next, we'll come to Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland. She's the chief whip, y'all. She makes sure that we are in line, that we are organized, that we know what the fight is every single day, works across coalitions. It's great to have you tonight, Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland from Washington.
Right. Well, nice to see everyone here today. Thank you to House Democratic leadership and my colleague, Stephen Horsford, for being here today. And thank you to all of you, our allies. So we are here to stand up for the American people because we want to save healthcare. And this is yet another attempt by the Republicans to chip away at the Affordable Care Act. And I want to make sure that we have context here because I think this is important. Democrats are fighting for what we believe are the basics that people should have in this country: housing, good jobs, access to healthcare that won't break you, the ability to retire with dignity, the ability to live your life and do whatever you want to do without having people get in your business. But I say this because healthcare is at the center of all this. When we talk about economic security for American families, whatever age you are, we have to make sure that healthcare is accessible and affordable. And the shutdown that we are witnessing right now is 100% owned by the Republican Party. They control the House, the Senate, and the White House. They're the ones who passed the big, ugly bill, and that's why we're here today. And it's really obvious to me that the difference between Democrats and Republicans, incredibly stark. Republicans do not care if you get sick. They don't care if you can pay your bills. And sadly, if people lose health care, they don't care if you die. And that's what we're facing right now. This is so incredibly urgent. And I remind folks that there are 212 Democrats in the House. There are millions of us across the country who know what is at stake. So we need everyone to use their voices, to stand up, to tell the stories of how this is going to affect you. And, I think about what is happening right now with this administration, and we're going to center this fight on healthcare because we know we're on the right side here and we're going to win this. But understand that this is another example of this administration abusing their power. They're abusing their power by sending National Guardsmen into cities. They're abusing their power by jacking up tariffs without the authority. They're abusing their power by trying to take away healthcare from 15 million people. And ever since the Affordable Care Act has been enacted, the uninsured rate in the United States now is lower than 5%. Less than 5% of the people in the United States are now uninsured. That is major progress, but we will unwind all of it if we do not stand up. Democrats are united. We are strong. We are not going to back down, and we are here to save healthcare for the American people. Thank you for joining us in this fight. There'll be more instructions about what to do, but remember, there are 212 of us, but millions of people around the country who are affected by this. And let's make sure that we hold the Republicans accountable for what they've done to the American people. Thank you, everyone.
The people always have the power. We need to empower the people in this moment to make sure your voices are heard. That is what this call is about as we continue to organize, engage, and give clear direction on what needs to come next. I'm going to come to my colleague, Congresswoman Susie Lee from Nevada, and then we're going to ask Tiernan from the League of Conservation Voters, and I see we've been joined by President Weingartner from the AFT and other leaders. And again, we want to hear from all of you in ways that we can continue to organize, engage, and win. Congresswoman Lee.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for always being on the forefront of fighting for what's right for our constituents and for the American people in Maryland and everyone who joined here. And of course, all of our partners. Listen, I come to this fight from a very personal place. Before the Affordable Care Act was passed, I get very emotional about the story. My father lost his job when he was 58 years old and was never able to really find another job. And both he and my mom had high blood pressure, so the cost of insurance was prohibitively high. So they took the risk that many Americans do when health insurance becomes unaffordable and decided to go without it. And my mom suffered a heart attack 1 month before she turned 65 and qualified for Medicare. And the bill they got from the hospital when she came out, I mean, thank God for all the nurses and doctors who took great care of her. She did survive, but the bill she got was basically equivalent to the value of her home. And it really drives home that no health emergency that we have should be catastrophic, that you end up losing your home as a result. And so many Americans are forced into this dilemma when health insurance becomes unaffordable. And in Nevada, I just was on the phone with my staffer who was helping me out. And he said, I just got my notice, my health insurance is going to go from $333. This is a single guy who is 26 years old or 28 years old. My health insurance is going to go from 333 to $475, almost a 50% increase. And this is even without dealing with the affordable tax credits. And I have a woman, Katie, who is a single mom. She has a daughter. Her health insurance is basically going to triple now if the ACA tax credits expire. So let's be clear. First of all, Republicans should have learned their lesson in 2018 when they tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act. I think it was 17 times, and they ended up losing the House. But, Donald Trump's always hated Obamacare. He's always hated it. And this is just the first step. This is the first step. And we're going to hold the line. And I'm telling you, Republicans are feeling the heat because when you get your insurance bill, there's not a D and an R on it. And by the way, people who live in red states are more likely to be impacted by the repeal of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And so this is a fight we're willing to take, but we need all of you to stand with us, to stand strong, to stand united. And it's all about basically, this is a president who ran on bringing down costs. But every constituent I talk to, they're like, I can't afford my groceries. I can't afford my health care. I can't afford my car insurance. I can't afford my rent. And then you top it off with basically them saying, we're going to let these tax credits expire because we want to give it costs too much because we want to give tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans. And we call bullshit on this, okay? It's total bullshit. It is a bad deal for the American people. And we're going to fight like hell to make sure that we stand up for each and every one of you. And we thank you for being with us in the fight. We thank all of these members of our coalition. And it's all about making sure that we protect a basic right for Americans, that you can go to the hospital and receive care and not come out in fear that you're going to lose your home.
Thank you for sharing such a heartfelt personal story. We said this today, yes, we are fighting for millions of Americans, but as members of Congress, we're also human beings and are experiencing some of these impacts and have members and family members who are experiencing it as well. And so bringing our own lived experience to this fight is a part of what is important in this moment as well. So, Tiffany, I'm going to kick it back over to you. I know people are asking, what can they do? What are the action steps? We've got several other folks who are joining us, more members who are jumping on, but let's get to that and we'll continue in the program.
Well, thank you so much, Congresswoman Lee, and thank you so much, Congressman Horsford. I think that's exactly right. What we're seeing in the chat is we are with you. What can we do? What can we do? So we're going to give 4 simple points, and then we're going to hear from some more amazing leaders. Number 1, you all have heard these incredible members of Congress who are fighting for you each and every day. They need to hear from you. They need to know that we have their back. So please make sure that as one part of what you're doing in this fight, please make sure to reach out and thank the Democratic members of Congress for holding firm and holding tough during this fight. Number 2, the opposite of that, we need to put pressure on these Republican members of Congress. They need to hear from us, phone calls, write their office, text them, write letters to the editor, send them emails, which leads me to point number 3. Join one of these awesome organizations, whether it is in Citizens United, which of course you can do at ecuorganize.org, ecuorganize.org, and we will send you ways to contact your members of Congress. But whether it is us, or it is Reproductive Freedom for All, or it is League of Conservation Voters, or it is NextGen, or it is Giffords, or so many of our incredible partners, join them and get involved. We are all in this fight together. And then number 4, keep telling your stories. We need those personal stories. We need the direct videos about the personal costs that this is having on people's day-to-day lives. So you heard it here. 4 simple steps. Thank the Democratic members for standing strong. Put pressure on the Republican members. Join one of our awesome organizations. And once again, I will plug ecuorganize.org. And number 4, tell those personal stories. And that is how we are going to win this together, united. And Congressman Horsford, I know I was going to turn it over. But what do we do? We can't do that.
No, we got, the author, the person who made the Affordable Care Act, the reality and the law of the land. She was testifying today before the Steering and Policy Committee, but it was her work as the Speaker of the House who made it possible. None other than Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. Thank you so much for being on. We have to turn the floor over to you. We would not be where we are but for your leadership. And this is the legacy that we're also fighting for. And as you say all the time, let's win for the children.
Thank you very much, Steve, Congressman Horsford. Thank you. And Tiffany, thank you as well for the invitation to be with all of you this evening. As Steve said, we under leadership of Hakeem Jeffries, we had a steering and policy meeting today where we testified about this. And I've heard you talking about stories, and we all told stories in our testimony. Among other things, we told stories. But stories have been the success of the Affordable Care Act. It helped us pass it. It helped us then save it when Trump was saying it, Obamacare sucks. Excuse me, that's what he said. And we had the 10,000, which you were part of, 10,000 events around the country where people told their stories. My father had a stroke. My wife has breast cancer. My child was born with a heart condition. All of these stories, people related to them. And again, our inside maneuvering can just go so far. It's the outside mobilization that gets the job done. So I want everybody who's in our conversation here to know your power in this. We don't, as I said, Lincoln said, public sentiment is everything. With it, you can accomplish almost anything. Without it, practically nothing. But for public sentiment to prevail, we say you have to know. So we have to let people know how this is going to affect them. And so the stories, nothing more eloquent, and nothing more eloquent to a member of Congress than the voice of his or her own constituent telling that. So we have actions all over the country. My daughter Christine is leading some of this stuff in San Francisco Bay Area, but in California statewide we have it now because of the because we've had to, but also intensified because of Prop 50 that's on the ballot. But Prop 50 must win because Democrats must win. We must win the House. We will win the House. There is no question. We've made a decision to win the House. And when you make a decision, you then have to make every decision in favor of your decision to win the House. So it's a pretty exciting time. Now, I was on a TV show and they were saying, well, why don't you all just see what suggestions they have for reforms? I said, reforms, the Republicans tried to repeal this 70, 80 times. Then Trump came in and he tried to do that. It's about reform. We are not stepping aside from health care for America's working families to give tax breaks to the richest people in our country. That's what this discussion is about. Mr. Steve Horsford, our colleague, he's on the Ways and Means Committee, so he knows full well the impact of the tax versus the funding for helping our folks, especially Medicare falls into his category, but all of it. And so I thank you for what you are all doing. Know your power in this. We cannot win without it, but we will absolutely win with it. And again, the stories. Tiffany, thank you. You are sort of something so special, so organized, so remarkable. and you have a child, I'd say a baby, but now a child, and you know that for the children, it's really important for us to make sure they have the health care they need when they need it for as long as they need it, and that for them and for their families. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this. This is what is going to help us win. Thank you for what you're doing. And thank you, Steve, for your kind words.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Congressman Horsford, thank
We
you.
couldn't do any of this without your tremendous leadership, ongoing guidance, and we will win for the children and for millions of Americans that are counting on us to protect, secure, strengthen their health care. So thank you for being on. We do want to come next to Tiernan from the League of Conservation Voters, and thank you to Randy as well for joining.
How long I'm supposed to stay on here?
Always, thank you so much, Congressman Horsford. It's always such an incredible honor to follow the greatest Speaker of the House we've ever had, who does it all for the children, for our climate, for our democracy, and so much more. So thank you so much, Speaker Pelosi. Thank you, Congressman Horsford. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you to all the incredible champions who are on with us this evening, and to all of the partner organizations, ECU, thank you for organizing us. And thanks to everyone who is with us, fighting so hard during this incredibly dark time for our country on day 8 of Trump's shutdown. We are here to urge Trump and congressional Republicans to come to the table to negotiate bipartisan solutions that help lower costs and protect families, communities, and our environment. Trump and Republicans need to stop gutting essential services that make life safer, healthier, and cheaper, and instead work with Democrats to address the affordability crisis that they created. People are facing skyrocketing costs across the board, from healthcare to groceries to energy bills, with Trump and congressional Republicans in complete control of the federal government. Yet instead of working with Democrats to make our lives better, they have chosen to unlawfully take back billions of dollars from communities so they can give more handouts to billionaires. And as energy demand soars, they are trying to take away our affordable, clean energy choices and good paying jobs, and instead spend billions of our taxpayer dollars on more expensive, slow, and dirty fossil fuels. Trump promised to lower prices, but utility bills have risen 10% since he took office. And as Trump and Republicans have worked to pad the profits of the fossil fuel industry, more than 80,000 good-paying clean energy jobs have been lost or delayed. And now, on the heels of Trump and congressional Republicans' big, ugly bill, ongoing illegal efforts to claw back badly needed funding, and mass firing of federal workers, their shutdown is going to lead to even more harm and suffering. It is bad for the communities who need to be kept safe from hurricanes and other climate-fueled extreme weather. It is bad for the air we breathe and the water we drink, including halting most EPA inspections that ensure clean water. It is bad for the lands that we cherish, where there's already a staffing crisis at the national parks, and now the shutdown could lead to trash piling up, to toilets overflowing, and to long-term damage to our national treasures. All of this is unacceptable. It is past time for Trump and Republicans to get serious about working with Democrats on bipartisan bills to fund the government, get people back to work, and protect communities, families, and our environment. So thank you again to all of the incredible champions in Congress who are fighting so hard for all of that. We are with you at every step. And now it's my honor to turn it to an incredible leader, Randy Weingarten, President of the American Federation of Teachers.
Thank you so much for all of the advocates, Tiernan, for Tiffany, for you, Congressman Horsford, for you, Speaker Pelosi, for all the others who are on. And I know Leader Jeffries was on earlier and others. I just want to say the following. I'm in Chicago today and tomorrow. And what this Trump administration is doing is completely changing all the norms that people who for decades, generations have said, let's try and make our democracy work and let's work across the aisle. Let's try to solve problems. Let's try to deal with what we need to do. So Americans, and as Speaker Pelosi said so often, the kitchen table issues, the future, our kids. And what has happened is that in July, and I think that this is why I say over and over again how proud I am of the Democrats right now. In July, the Republicans passed a bill that actually created this train wreck, that actually made this worse. And I see it because we are now the second largest healthcare union in America. And we had an emergency physician from Oregon who testified at the shadow hearing today, Bryce Pullian, who told people not only is the pit not a lie, but he is watching what is happening in Oregon right now with the Medicaid cuts, with the closing of rural hospitals. We had another member, surgical oncology nurse, Catherine Henderson, who was with the Congress, with all of the Democrats last week, talking about what is happening in oncology with the huge cuts in cancer research. All of this is obvious to our members who are in healthcare. And now what is happening is every day people are either getting notices or about to get notices that their premiums are going up. They will not be able to afford health care. And much of this is going on in red states, in states where people pass these bills and where they refuse to work with the Democrats right now in trying to fix it. I'm a social studies teacher. Congress is supposed to fix problems for Americans, not make them worse. And that is what you are doing, Congressman Horsford. You are trying to fix problems. That's what you're doing, Congresswoman Dingell. You are trying to fix problems. That's what you're doing, Congresswoman Randall, Congresswoman Strickland. You're trying to fix problems. And sometimes you have to stop. You have to get them to stop in order to fix the problems. And we, and this, Tiffany, I want to just say to the rest of us, we, the Democrats are doing their job. They are trying to fix these problems. Americans are with them. 80% of Americans want the ACA credits fixed. It's not just the people who are on it getting these notices, including almost 60% of Trump voters. So we, the people, the 300 or so people who are still on this, we need to call on Congresspeople, not just the ones who are on here who are with us. We need to go and demonstrate outside of the offices of those who are not. We need to call the officers of those who are not. We need to be out there saying, this problem needs to be fixed now, because if it's not fixed now, we are not going to have a worse healthcare crisis. People are going to die. So I want to say, as the AFT, as our union, we are out there in large and small ways. We've done ads. Our members are out there. We are supporting you. We understand that we don't want a government closed, but we also understand what you are fighting for, and we are with you in the fight. And for everyone else who's watching, do the things that Tiernan and do the things that Tiffany has said. Join these organizations. Make it be out there. Have your voice out there, basically supporting what the Democrats are doing to try to support us and drive down costs and make sure that we, the people, have a voice here. Thank you.
Thank you for being such an incredible leader, labor leader, and leader in every respect. You push us to purpose. You organize your members. You show up in every fight. And this is a fight worth fighting for, protecting America's healthcare system and making sure that we improve all of the quality of life for American people, including our children in education. So thank you, President Weingarten, for your leadership and your work on behalf of all of labor. And one of our great co-chairs of the Labor Caucus, as well as a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee. She also chairs the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, which helps to hone our messaging, is none other than Congresswoman Debbie Dingell from the great state of Michigan. Great to have you on. And then Congresswoman Emily Randall will be next.
Thank you. And I really want to thank Congressman Horsford, who is my partner in so many things, and his leadership in trying to make a difference and to stand up on healthcare, to fight for labor, understanding how the federal government employees are feeling right now, being caught as a political football. I'm just grateful to Stephen, and to follow Nancy and Tiernan and Randy is an honor. I work with all of them very closely. My husband was a significant partner with Nancy Pelosi when the Affordable Care Act bill was first passed. And I want to, I guess, just come on top of Tiffany and say to everybody the point that she was making, that we need to do put the human face on this in the personal stories, is what really makes a difference right now. I could give you one of my, everybody knows I can get really worked up. Poor Stephen had me earlier in the day worked up. But I'm going to tell you that I come to this tonight from the perspective of someone who has literally been sitting in a hospital for the last 5 days. My mother's okay, but we've had some pretty tense moments. And everybody in the hospital, I feel like everybody knows me. And they come and they share their personal stories. And from the mother that is really worried about whether she's going to be able to continue to bring her child to the doctor because she doesn't know what's going to happen with her Medicaid coverage, to people that come in and talk to you about what is going to happen to them. They can't afford their insurance. They're starting Blue Cross Blue Shield in Michigan before we even get to the exchange. And by the way, 3 insurance companies have pulled out of the Michigan exchange, but Blue Cross Blue Shield has already increased its premiums 24%. The small business owner that's actually married to an air traffic controller who got their numbers this week from HR and what's happened to their numbers, to the emergency room where the people are waiting for 24 hours, 48 hours to get a bed when they need to be brought into the hospital, which has been made worse by the big shitty bill because, and it's already happening. People put off going to the doctor. We have community health centers already closing. You know, when you meet, you hear about, we've already lost multiple OB/GYN programs throughout the state. It's just, it's a really serious problem, and Republicans won't come back to Washington. I was in Washington until I got the call my mother was in an ambulance, because we all, and a lot of my colleagues are there, ready, able, and willing to have bipartisan discussions to get this done. And they say, sure, why is it emergency? We have to December 31st. Well, you know, we had to come back the 4th of July week because the billionaires whose tax the benefits didn't expire to the end of December. We had to get that done in July. And yet people right now are getting what their premiums would cost. And the exchange opens on November 1st, and they have to make the decisions now. So you tell me what the difference is between a billionaire who really, does he really need that tax advantage so that we can rip healthcare away from so many people? But people who need answers now, who are scared to death. If you sit in that hospital and you see the stress on the patient's face and those that love them, worried about what's going to happen. Are they going to be able to continue to go? Oh, and by the way, talk to the infectious disease doctors who are telling you about fewer people are getting COVID and the increase of COVID patients that are going in the hospital now, and how afraid they are of what's going to happen this winter, because 1, people are so confused by what this administration is saying, but 2, there's so much confusion about who can get a COVID shot and who's not. People who need to be immunized aren't. So we're fighting. Whoops, I didn't mean to get that excited, but we are fighting for the working men and women of this country. And thank you, and stay in that fight with us. Thank you, and yield back.
I'm just glad it was only your computer you flipped over and not the table, Congresswoman Dingell. but that's the passion that you bring to this work. And we are praying for your mother as we lift up her quality of care and continue to fight on behalf of all of the millions of Americans that are counting on us to deliver for them in this moment. That's why we can't wait. Republicans say, let's just deal with this later. No, we're dealing with this right now. We're not going to let them kick this can down the road any further. This is an issue that requires action from Congress right now. And that's what we're organizing about. That's why we're in this fight. That's why this moment matters. And one of the newer voices to Congress that's bringing a tremendous perspective is Representative Emily Randall from the 6th Congressional District from Washington. Thank you so much for joining, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Congressman Horsford. And it's incredible to sit and listen to my colleagues share stories from their districts and their experience. And in the case of Speaker Emerita Pelosi, the long fight for healthcare for all our communities. And I'm glad that we're joined by, Tiffany and Tiernan, by experts in advocacy, because this work takes all of us. And all of our neighbors are impacted by this government shutdown and continued assault on healthcare. I'm in politics in the first place, and certainly I'm a Democrat because I have seen how government support for healthcare can change people's lives. My sister was born with really complex disabilities, and through that work, just being her sister, but then working in the state legislature to expand healthcare access, I've gotten to hear so many stories from so many Washingtonians whose lives are also saved by Medicaid, by healthcare tax credits, by the ability to ensure that their loved ones are covered. Just today, we had another roundtable with constituents, and I want to share some of those stories. Natasha told me that tax credits are the only reason that she can afford health insurance. She grew up in poverty, but was able to, pull herself out to go to college to support her family. But without those healthcare tax credits, she won't be able to afford healthcare, and her family won't be able to follow the dreams that she had built for them. Her employer is going dormant during these cuts on clean energy. She's being furloughed and she's terrified. She has a brother who lives with HIV and hasn't been able to work in nearly 10 years due to mobility challenges and relies on Medicaid to stay healthy. And Natasha is concerned that the new Republican paperwork requirements and the big ugly law will strip him of care, even though it's impossible for him to work, and it has been for many years. Her story is like so many families. It's multiple different healthcare programs that support them and allow them to live and thrive. Beverly's 27-year-old nephew has a disability and is a full-time caregiver for his grandmother. He depends on Medicaid, and these work requirements would punish him for caring for family. Beverly herself doesn't know if her Medicare will be there when she needs it because of the $500 billion potential cut that Republicans passed in their July budget bill. She has friends who can't afford cancer treatment and who are paying $60,000 a month for memory care. Mike raised concerns for the clinics that serve over 212,000 women and children through WIC. If WIC funding runs out during this Republican shutdown, babies will lose access to formula, which will lead to brain damage and developmental delays and more government costs long term as we have to support folks who would have lived healthy lives if they had formula. In Grace Harbor, 75% of reproductive health patients rely on Medicaid and school-based health centers where some kids see a doctor for the first time would close. Our communities are so dependent on a government that works for us and government healthcare programs and tax credits that allow people to build brighter futures for themselves than the ones that they are able to see without the programs that they rely on. Healthcare coverage is a non-negotiable for me. I can't support policies that cut care for people with disabilities, seniors, working families, babies. This crisis, this shutdown is manufactured by Republicans who didn't come to the table early in the year, who knew that our budget would run out September 30th, but waited to try and force us to pass a bill that furthers the attack on healthcare for so many of our neighbors. I'm leading a letter to urge Speaker Johnson to bring the House back into session, and I'm grateful to have so many of our caucus colleagues join on. This is a fight that we are fighting on all fronts. We are using every tool possible to convince the Republicans that we mean business. We are here. We are ready to negotiate. We're ready to work on behalf of the American people, and I'm proud to be in the fight with all of you.
Thank you so much, Representative Randall. Very compelling storytelling of real people who are affected by real policy and kind of breaking through the numbers and bringing it home as we come to a close on this Zoom. And this is a life or death situation for many, many Americans. It's about one having the right to have access to health care, which is also an economic imperative. Without it, you don't have security. Without it, you are one illness away from bankruptcy. And that is another reason. I mean, far too many Americans don't have $500 in the savings to handle an emergency when it comes. And sadly, there are people every single day who are facing medical emergencies without the means to cover it. And that is why this fight is about all of healthcare. We've been talking about everything from the cuts to Medicaid to the defunding of treatment for cancer, children with cancer, the disinvestment of the National Institutes of Health, the refusal to extend these enhanced premium tax credits, which, to be clear, this is leveraging the federal tax code to give relief to middle-class families. They gave it to billionaires, gave them a tax cut that was permanent, but now they act like they don't have the time or the resources to give tax relief to middle-class families to afford health care. That is what this fight is all about. The Children's Health Insurance Program and all of these components under healthcare. And then you talk about nutrition and Head Start and childcare and housing and energy cost and groceries and all the other burdens that average families are dealing with. These are the issues that Democrats, House Democrats, are working to make sure are central in this debate. It's not just about being against Republicans, it's about being what we are for as House Democrats, not just now, but as we win back this majority and lead and govern for the American people. So we have to make sure that we continue to hear from you. Tiffany, you talked about the things that people can do today and how we need to keep them engaged. And I want to make sure we end by lifting up their comments. Continue to show up, stand up, speak up, and fight back in this moment. And all of us, we are the people with the power to do that. So Tiffany, what are the reminders of what we need to do and any other concluding comments that we may not have covered in the chat?
Well, first of all, can we all give Congressman Horsford such a huge round of applause and our gratitude and thanks for leading us all through this amazing conversation so well tonight. It was a little bit like herding cats, and you handled the chaos with such grace. It was incredible. Look at all those applause lines. That's the way to do it. I also want to give a shout out and a thank you to our partners who joined on and in short turnaround made this event so incredibly successful. Next Gen, Brady, Reproductive Freedom for All, League of Conservation Voters, AFT, Giffords, Everytown, Climate Power, and Rural Organizing. We are so grateful to be in this fight with you. And I know you all remember all the incredible members that were here, but really quickly, a huge shout out to all of the members: Leader Jeffries, Whip Clark, Speaker Emerita Pelosi, Congresswoman Lee, Congresswoman Dingell, Congresswoman Randall, Congresswoman Strickland, Congressman Magaziner, Congresswoman Underwood, and Congresswoman Hayes, and Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz. And I think I might have gotten them all. And if I didn't, please don't fact check me. Look, you have heard what we are fighting for all night and how urgent this is. And look, we know advocacy works, people power works, standing united together works. Right now, the other side, Republicans are expecting us to get tired, to get numb, to check out of this fight. Are we tired? Hell no, we're not tired. We're just getting started. We know what we're fighting for, and we also know what they're fighting for. They were more than happy to pass the largest tax break in US history, to give more money to the corporations and more money to the billionaires. And now they're going to do it by jacking up all of our health prices and kicking tens of millions of Americans off of health care. That is not the country that we fight for. That is not the country that we are going to be okay with. And we are not giving up. So for all of you still on the call, we are digging in. There are going to be more organizing opportunities coming up. So please take out your phone and text JOIN, JOIN, to 59424. 59424. Text JOIN to 59424, and you'll get a text from us to be able to get plugged in, to contact your members. Because what are the 4 things we're doing? We're going to thank Democrats for holding the line. Thank them for their unity and their strength in this moment. Number 2, we are going to put the pressure on Republicans. We are bringing the fight to them and making it really uncomfortable for them to continue where they're at. Number 3, join one of these awesome organizations, one of our partner organizations. We are all have different events going on. And number 4, tell your stories. You've heard the personal stories all night long. They are key to winning this fight. So please stay with us, stay in this fight. And thank you so much for taking time out and joining us tonight. We are so grateful for all of you. Congressman, I think we did it.
We did it, Tiffany. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I want to just ask one more time, are you with us? If so, make sure you tell us in the chat. Give us another clap in the whatever we call them, in
the reactions.
Comments, the reactions. Thank you. And look, when we show up, when we speak up, when we stand up, and when we fight back, we win. And this is a moment where we have to do all of those things together, and in coalition, we can make this possible. So it's a serious time. We do want to thank our civil servants in the federal workforce who are still going to work, many of them without the guarantee of being paid. We will make sure in Congress they get paid when we reopen the government. That is the law. But right now, many of them are going to work without being compensated. And that is something that is a huge sacrifice for a lot of civil servants and their families. We want to thank all of you for participating tonight. And I want to give a special shout out to all of my Democratic colleagues who joined with us. And of course, Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Whip Clark and the rest of our leadership team, because we cannot do this without the people who are the power pushing us forward. So thank you again for being with us. Let's go out and organize, everybody.
Let's do this. Bye, everyone.